Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and this short video we're going to talk about the events that took place during the previous 12 hours, and also we're going to summarize some things in Ukraine as well. Let's return back for the last time to Belgorod. I have added another icon in this area. This is some kind of flag of Belgorod region. So this is an icon of another battle that the Russians won during the special military operation, and we can call this Battle of Belgorod Borderlands. So today we finally got some updates. The main forces that took place from the Russian side was like Russian border troops, and from the Ukrainian side there were like 3 brigades, battalions or forces, type of forces, Kraken, Free Russian Regiment and Russian Volunteer Corps. The beginning of that battle started on the 22nd of May and ended on the 23rd of May. Days of battle just 2, and based on the Russian sources, the Ukrainians lost 70 soldiers and 9 armored vehicles, and according to the Russian information, Russian sources, the Russians lost just 1 soldier, and that soldier was killed during that battle. And that's it for this battle. Now we got more updates about the first battle of this year, and I'm talking about the Battle of Bakhmut. There we got more updates. As you know, the head of Wagner, Prigozhin, made his own report, and today yesterday in the evening he gave his own he was interviewed by press, and he gave us his own numbers and so on. And based on Prigozhin, the total Ukrainian losses were around on the level of 100,000 to 120,000 soldiers, and it's Ukrainian losses. And furthermore, from those 120,000 soldiers, 50,000 were killed. If you remember, the previous update was that Ukrainians lost around 40,000 soldiers, including killed. So as you can see, Prigozhin have increased the numbers almost in 2 times. So we'll see. And furthermore, he also added the total losses of the Russians. Mainly those were the losses of the Wagner troops, Wagner soldiers, and during that battle, the Russians, the Wagners, lost 20,000 soldiers, and he haven't provided us any information how many of those 20,000 were killed. So as you can see, it's a very big ratio, let's say 1 to 6, and we see that was a real meat grinder in Russian favor. Now let's go to the ground and let's discuss the situation on the ground. The Russians report during the previous night they continue advancing of their forces of the 6th Russian army. Some squads of 6th Russian army continue advancing in the vicinity of Masyutovka. Probably the Russians are trying to develop their bridgehead, and as we discussed, this is the area of location of Shoigu's Storm Z squad of newly created PMC. Probably that was their job. Currently, probably that squad, that PMC currently is a part of 6th Russian army. Furthermore, the Russians report that as a result of air defense, they managed to shut down another Ukrainian helicopter in this area. So we'll follow this area because, as we can see, we were expecting that the Russians would try to advance in direction of Siversk, but when talking about facts, this is the most active front line after Bakhmut fell, so probably the Russians will try to activate in this area, because as we discussed, if the Russians are planning to someday to capture or to start battle for Slavyansk and Kramatorsk, of course for these purposes they need to attack this area from the north, and for these purposes they need to return back Izum. Now let's go to the south, and we are moving to Siversk bridgehead. The Russians reported that as a result of artillery duels they managed to discover and to destroy another ammo depot in the settlement by the name of Zvanovka that located on the south of Siversk. Very interesting updates are coming from Bakhmut, from this town. As you know, tomorrow is the last day when the Wagner is going to be there. After the 25th of May, based on the reports of Prigozhin, Wagners will be replaced and will be moved from this territory. Today, the sources are saying that Wagners will be replaced by the DPR forces. So as you can see, the Wagners are not going to be replaced by the special units of Ahmad, or neither by the let's say main Russian regular army, let's say from the old Russian territory. As we can see, the Russians took a decision to replace the Wagners with DPR forces, those professionals who were fighting with the Ukrainians since 2014. So as you can see, the Russians understand the risks, so that's why they don't want to put to send their regular army let's say those army who haven't maybe even seen the battles or something like this. Furthermore, the Russians intelligence reported that Ukrainians continue sending more and more reserves to the flanks of Ukrainian army in this area around Chasov Yar. And probably the Ukrainians have some plan, because they understand as soon as Wagners will leave Bakhmut, for them, for the Ukrainians, it's the best situation, best scenario to start attack, because there is a very high chances that newly redeployed forces could be broken by the attack of Ukrainians on the flanks. So like it's like unexperienced or without proper experience or something like these forces can be broke by the Ukrainians as a result of Ukrainian counteroffensive operation. So the Ukrainians continue accumulating force on the flanks of Chasov Yar, so we'll see what is going to be next. Also, the Russians reported that during the previous night there were explosions in Konstantinovka along the railroad ways. Probably the Ukrainians, of course, not the probably, but we understand that the Ukrainians have not many ways how to move reserves in this area, and one of the ways is to use the railroad ways, so probably there were explosions in that area. Interesting updates are coming from Donetsk area. The Russians reported that Ukrainians during the previous night made at least three attempts of storming operation in the vicinity of Avdiivka, and some sources are saying that Ukrainians were trying to attack the bridgehead between, let's say, Keramik and Avdiivka, and were trying to return control over the hills. But the Russians managed to repulse that attack, and the Ukrainians were forced to step back. The same situation took place in Marinka. The Marinka has almost been captured by the Russians, and the Ukrainians made another attempt to return control over the lost positions in the western part of town, but that attack was repulsed as well, and the Ukrainians were forced to step back on their main positions. When talking about Zaporozhye and Kherson area, just a few updates. The Russians reported about explosions in Nikopol, that located on the north of Energodar, the Zaporozhye power plant. Probably the Russians were attacking the Ukrainian positions, an accumulation of forces, maybe some Marines who were planning to cross Dnipro River or something like this. And another explosion took place in Kherson, and the same situation. The Russians are trying to get and to destroy as much as possible Ukrainians on that bank of the river, probably those forces who also were planning to cross the river or something like this. Very interesting updates today came from the south, from the Baltic, from the Black Sea. Today the Russian intelligence ship Ivan Hurs crossed this area and entered the Black Sea, and at the moment, after the passing by around 40 miles, that ship was attacked by the Ukrainian submarine drones, and the Russians are saying that there were around 3 submarine drones who took part in that operation, that attack, and the Russians are saying that the crew of that ship managed to penetrate those attacks and to pass by this area, and after that to get to Crimea. So for now we still don't have any information about any damage or any losses in the ship, but the Russians are saying that everything is okay with crew, with ship, and so on. So we'll see. Probably today we're going to receive more updates. Exactly at this moment, some Russian sources started speculating that the Ukrainians were using the grain deal roads to attack that ship, but later other sources reported that it was some kind of speculation and fake piece of news. And that's it for this short update. Military Summer channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.